My name is Lauren Hall. I'm 36 years old, living in Asheville, North Carolina, where the Blue Ridge Mountains create this perfect backdrop for a quiet, predictable life. I've worked as a senior systems analyst for new tech solutions for the past 8 years, and I love the methodical nature of my job. Code doesn't lie. Systems don't betray you. They aren't unpredictable in a way that people are. I bought my little craftsman-style home in West Asheville back in 2017. Nothing fancy, just a 2-bedroom with a front porch and enough space for my small vegetable garden. By 2020, I'd paid off my Subaru Outback completely. While my friends were posting vacation photos from Cancun and buying designer handbags, I was quietly building something different: security. By the summer of 2024, I had $112,000 in savings. $112,000. I remember the exact amount because I'd check it every morning with my coffee, watching those numbers grow month by month. It wasn't about being rich, it was about being prepared. For emergencies, for opportunities, for whatever life might throw at me. That money represented 15 years of careful choices: packing lunch instead of buying it, driving my car until it literally couldn't run anymore, staying in on Friday nights while others went out. It was my peace of mind, sitting there in my savings account like a warm blanket on a cold night. But nothing, and I mean nothing, prepares you for betrayal from the people you love most. The Hall family reunion happens every June at my parents' lake house near Lake Lanier, Georgia. It's been a tradition for as long as I can remember. This chaotic, wonderful weekend, where 3 generations of Halls descend on my parents' property for barbecue, cornhole tournaments, and the kind of organized chaos that only Southern families can create. June 13th, 2024. I can still feel the humid Georgia air on my skin as I pulled into the gravel driveway. The sound of kids splashing in the lake, someone's Bluetooth speaker pumping out classic rock, and the smell of my dad's famous dry rub on the grill. It felt like coming home. My younger sister Madison showed up late, as usual, pulling up in an old red Kia Soul that had seen better days. She was 32 then, still beautiful in that effortless way some people just have, but I could see the stress lines around her eyes that weren't there a year ago. Her husband Tyler climbed out of the passenger side, and I swear, the man had the energy of someone trying to sell you a timeshare. He was tall, sandy-haired, with this practiced smile that he turned on like a switch. Tyler had always been. A lot, charming in that way that feels calculated, like he was constantly working an angle. "Lauren," he called out, throwing his arms wide as if we were best friends instead of reluctant relatives. "Look at you. Still living that single life up in the mountains." I forced a smile. "Still enjoying the peace and quiet." Madison gave me a genuine hug, and for a moment, I remembered why I loved her so much. She'd always been the artistic one, the dreamer, the one who saw magic in everything. As kids, she'd drag me on adventures through the woods behind our house, convinced we'd find fairy houses or buried treasure. I was the practical one, carrying the flashlight and the first aid kit, but I loved watching her world through her eyes. "You look tired," I said, studying her face. "Just been a long week," she replied, but her eyes darted away. Tyler had already moved on to schmoozing with our Uncle Bob, launching into what sounded like a pitch for some new business venture. In the 4 years since he'd married Madison, Tyler had been a real estate agent, a crypto advisor, a personal trainer, and an Uber driver. None of them lasted more than 6 months. That first night, as we sat around the fire pit roasting marshmallows, Tyler kept steering the conversation back to me. "So Lauren," he said, stabbing a marshmallow with unnecessary force, "you still working remote. Must be nice, all that freedom. No kids, no husband, what do you even spend money on?" The question hit me wrong, but I tried to laugh it off. "I save," he whistled low. "Damn good for you." I wish I had that kind of discipline. Madison shot him a look I couldn't quite read. "Tyler." "What? I'm just saying Lauren's got her life figured out. Smart girl." He grinned at me. "Bet you've got a nice little nest egg built up." I shrugged, uncomfortable with the direction of the conversation. "I do okay," but I should have paid attention to the gleam in his eyes when I said it. Should have noticed how Madison suddenly became very interested in her marshmallow. Should have trusted the knot that formed in my stomach. The next morning, I was in the kitchen making coffee when I noticed Madison hovering around my laptop. I'd left it open on the kitchen table while I grabbed my mug from the cabinet. "Morning," I said, trying to keep my voice light. "You're up early." She looked up startled. "Oh, hey, I was just checking the weather. My phone's dead." "No problem," I said, but something felt off. Madison was never up before 10 if she could help it, and she seemed nervous, fidgety in a way that wasn't like her. I should have closed the laptop. Should have changed my passwords right then. But this was my sister. My baby sister who used to crawl into my bed during thunderstorms. The thought that she might be planning something didn't even cross my mind. Later that day, we took a walk around the lake, just the two of us. The Georgia sun was starting to set, painting the water golden, and for a moment, it felt like old times. Madison had always been able to make me feel like the wise older sister, the one who had all the answers. "Lauren," she said suddenly, stopping on the path, "I need to tell you something." I turned to face her, concerned by the seriousness in her voice. "I think I'm pregnant, and I am really scared. It's not good news, Lauren. We're broke. Tyler's car just got repossessed last week. We're 3 months behind on rent. I don't know what we're gonna do." I felt that familiar surge of protectiveness I'd had for her since we were kids. "Maddie, it's going to be okay. We'll figure something out." "No, we won't," she said, tears starting to fall. "Tyler's been out of work for 2 months. I'm waitressing at a diner, but it's barely enough to cover groceries. How am I supposed to raise a baby like this?" The manipulation was so perfect, so carefully constructed, that I walked right into it. "I can help," I said immediately. "I can send you a few hundred to get caught up on rent." "No," she said quickly. "I'm not asking for that. I would never ask you for money." But she was. She was asking without asking, and we both knew it. "Madison, seriously, let me help. What's family for?" She shook her head, wiping her eyes. I don't know what to do. Tyler's been so stressed, and now this." I hugged her tight, feeling her shake against me. "We'll figure it out, I promise." As we walked back to the house, I was already mentally calculating how much I could spare. 5,000, 10, whatever it took to help my sister and her unborn baby. The rest of the weekend passed in a blur of family activities. We had the traditional cornhole tournament on Saturday. Tyler won, naturally, with that same cocky grin plastered on his face. Sunday morning brought the usual chaos of packing up and saying goodbyes. Madison hugged me extra tight before they left, whispering, "Thank you for being the best sister ever," in my ear. I drove back to Asheville that afternoon feeling good about the weekend, already mentally planning how I could help Madison and Tyler get back on their feet. I had no idea that while I was thinking about their future, they were already stealing mine. Monday morning back home in Asheville, settling into my Monday routine. Coffee first, then a quick check of my emails and accounts before starting work. It was a habit I'd developed over the years, just a few minutes to make sure everything was in order. I logged into my bank account, expecting to see the familiar balance that had grown to represent my entire future. Instead, I saw two words that made my heart stop. Savings. $0.00. I stared at the screen, certain it was a glitch. I hit refresh. The page reloaded. Still zero. I refreshed again. And again. My hands were shaking as I picked up my phone and dialed the bank's customer service line. "First National Bank, this is Linda. How can I help you?" "Hi, Linda. This is Lauren Hall, and I'm looking at my account online and it's showing zero balance in my savings, but that can't be right. I had over $100,000 in there on Friday." There was a pause. "Let me look that up for you, Miss Hall. Can you verify your social security number?" I rattled off the numbers, my heart pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. "I see the issue," Linda said, her voice gentle. "It looks like there were several large transfers made over the weekend. I'm showing transfers totaling $112,000 to an external account." The room started to spin. "Transfers? I didn't authorize any transfers. I'm going to transfer you to our fraud department right away. Please hold." Linda replied the hold music was some generic instrumental that felt like torture. I paced around my living room, trying to make sense of what was happening. Who could have accessed my account? How was this possible? "Miss Hall, this is Anthony with the fraud department. I understand you're reporting unauthorized transfers from your account." "Yes, someone took all my money, all of it. I'm going to email you the transaction details right now. Can you review them and let me know if you recognize any of the recipient information?" My laptop chimed with the email. I opened it with trembling fingers and scanned the transfer details. The amounts were staggering: $20,000, $15,000, spread across multiple transfers to make them look less suspicious. And then I saw the names on the receiving accounts: Madison R. Bishop and Tyler J. Bishop, my sister. My baby sister had stolen everything from me. I dropped the phone. I don't remember the drive to Atlanta. I was operating on pure rage, the kind that makes you cold and focused and dangerous. I'd called in sick to work, thrown some clothes in a bag, and hit the road before I could talk myself out of it. Madison and Tyler lived in Brookhaven, in a 2-bedroom rental with a cracked front step and mismatched curtains. I'd visited once before, right after they'd moved in, and remembered thinking how temporary it all looked. Like they were just passing through. Now I understood why. Tyler answered the door in boxers and a tank top, holding a craft beer. His hair was messy, and he had that lazy confidence of someone who'd never faced real consequences. "Lauren," he said, grinning. "What a surprise. What brings you to Atlanta?" I didn't waste time on pleasantries. "I know what you did." His smile faltered for just a second. "What are you talking about?" "The account's empty, Tyler, all of it. The transfers went to your names." Madison appeared behind him, wearing one of his oversized t-shirts. She looked like she wanted to disappear into the floor. "Lauren, I can explain," she started. $112,000, I said, my voice deadly calm. 15 years of savings. Gone, Tyler's grin returned, and that's when I knew he thought he was going to get away with it. "Relax," he said, taking a sip of his beer. "You didn't need it. We did. You'll be fine." The audacity of it took my breath away. I didn't need it. Come on, Lauren. You live in that little house, drive that old car, never go anywhere or do anything. What were you saving for? You don't even have a life. Madison was crying now, silently, but she didn't contradict him. She just stood there, letting him speak for both of them. "Besides," Tyler continued, "Madison's pregnant. You want your nephew to grow up homeless. We were desperate. You would have helped us anyway. So you decided to help yourselves. We'll pay you back," Madison said quietly. "Once Tyler gets his business going." "What business?" I laughed, but there was no humor in it. "The one that'll last 3 months before he moves on to the next get-rich-quick scheme." Tyler's face darkened. "You don't know anything about what we've been through." "Then you won't mind the consequences," I replied. I pulled out my phone and started dialing. Tyler's expression shifted from anger to confusion to something that might have been alarm. "What are you doing?" "Calling the police." "Oh, come on, Lauren." He laughed, but it sounded forced. "You're gonna call the cops on your own sister, over money." I held the phone to my ear, listening to it ring. "Watch me." The operator picked up on the second ring. 911, what's your emergency?" "I need to report a theft," I said, my voice steady despite the chaos inside me. "Someone has stolen over $100,000 from my bank account." Tyler's face went from smug to pale in seconds. He set down his beer with shaking hands. "Are you the victim calling, ma'am?" "Yes, my name is Lauren Hall, and I'm at the residence of the people who stole from me." Madison finally spoke up, her voice barely a whisper. "Lauren, please." I held up my hand to silence her, never taking my eyes off Tyler. "The perpetrators are Madison and Tyler Bishop. I'm at their address now." I rattled off their Brookhaven address from memory. "Ma'am, I need you to leave the location immediately for your safety. Can you do that?" "Yes," I said, already heading toward the door. "I'll be waiting in my car." Tyler found his voice as I reached the doorway. "This is insane, Lauren." "You're insane." I turned back one last time, looking at my sister who was now crying silently on the couch. "No, Tyler. For the first time in days, I'm thinking clearly." I left their apartment that day knowing there was no going back. The police report was filed, but I understood this was just the beginning. Financial crimes investigations take time, evidence gathering, forensic analysis, warrants. Tyler and Madison would have a few more weeks of freedom before the walls closed in. But the investigation would begin, and my family would never be the same. They were counting on family loyalty, on the benefit of the doubt, on the fact that most people don't want to send their relatives to prison. But I wasn't ready to let go of what felt like a plot to take my life. The following day, I hired Keith, a digital forensic expert out of Raleigh, recommended by a lawyer friend. Keith cost $3,500, money I didn't really have anymore, but he was worth every penny. Most people don't realize how much evidence they leave behind, Keith explained during our first meeting. Every login, every password reset, every transaction leaves digital footprints. If your sister and her husband did this, I'll find the proof. It took him 2 days. They accessed your Gmail account on June 15th, he said, showing me the evidence on his laptop. Someone initiated password resets for your bank account from an IP address registered to a Comcast account in Brookhaven. Same address where your sister lives. The violation felt complete. They hadn't just stolen my money, they'd invaded my most private spaces, read my emails, pretended to be me. It gets worse, Keith continued. They answered your security questions correctly. First dog's name, Rusty. Favorite book, To Kill a Mockingbird. High school mascot, the Eagles. They knew you well enough to steal your identity. I sighed. It had Madison written all over it. On June 29th, Detective Andrea of the Atlanta PD Financial Crimes Unit called me. Miss Hall, I've reviewed the evidence your forensic expert provided, along with the bank records. We have enough for warrants. What kind of charges? I asked. Identity theft in the first degree, wire fraud, computer trespassing, and conspiracy. Given the amount involved, these are federal charges. We're looking at significant prison time. I felt a mix of satisfaction and sadness. When will you arrest them? Monday. We'll execute the warrants at 3 p.m. July 1st. I wasn't there, but I heard about it. Tyler answered the door shirtless again, probably expecting a food delivery. Instead, he found 3 federal agents with handcuffs. This time, he wasn't laughing. Madison sobbed when they cuffed her. Someone recorded it on their phone, and it ended up on the neighborhood Facebook page. My baby sister, the one who used to make me friendship bracelets, being led away in handcuffs. I should have felt triumphant. Instead, I just felt empty. The call came that night, my mother crying so hard I could barely understand her. Lauren, what have you done? I've protected myself, Mom. She's your sister, she's pregnant. How could you do this to family? I'd been expecting this conversation, but it still hurt. She stole from me, she stole everything. It's just money, Lauren, it's not worth destroying the family over. Just money, I laughed bitterly. Mom, that was 15 years of my life. Every sacrifice I made, every time I chose security over happiness, every dollar I saved instead of spending, they took all of it. But she's pregnant, honey. Think about the baby. No, she's not. Silence. What? She's not pregnant, Mom. She lied about that too. It was all part of the con. I'd found out from Detective Andrea during the investigation. Madison had admitted under questioning that the pregnancy had been fabricated. A manipulation tactic designed to make me more sympathetic to their desperate situation. She told me she was pregnant to make me feel guilty, I continued. In case the theft didn't work, she wanted me to give them money willingly. My mother was quiet for a long time. When she spoke again, her voice was small. She really isn't pregnant? No, Mom, she isn't. I heard my father in the background, asking what was wrong. I heard my mother tell him. I heard him curse, something I'd never heard him do in 36 years of life. I need to go, Mom said finally. The line went dead. The trial was a formality. Tyler tried to play it cool, showing up in a cheap suit with a court-appointed attorney who looked like he'd rather be anywhere else. Madison cried through the entire proceeding, which I suppose was meant to garner sympathy. The evidence was overwhelming. Keith's digital forensics, the bank records, the IP addresses, the timeline, it all painted a picture of deliberate, calculated theft. They'd planned it, they'd executed it, they'd celebrated it. Tyler took a plea deal in November 2024, 7 years in federal prison, no possibility of parole. Madison got 2 years plus 5 years of probation. She made a statement during sentencing about making a terrible mistake out of desperation, about how sorry she was for the misunderstanding. But she never apologized to me, not once. Never looked me in the eye and said she was sorry for trying to destroy my life. The restitution was a joke. I recovered $68,000 through the court's asset seizure, Tyler's new truck he bought with my money, some jewelry, the contents of their checking account. The rest was gone, spent on rent, groceries, gambling, and Tyler's beer, dissolved into the everyday expenses of their ordinary life. $44,000 vanished forever. My parents called twice after the sentencing. Both times they asked me to think about forgiveness and remember that family is forever. Both times I hung up, The truth is, I didn't feel human anymore. I felt like a fool, a mark. Someone so desperate to be the good sister, the reliable one, the helper that I'd made myself an easy target. But slowly, I started to rebuild. I changed all my passwords, updated my security questions with answers only I would know. It's been 8 months since the arrest. I've built my savings back up not much, but it's honest money, earned through my own work. I've started dating again, something I'd never made time for when I was so focused on financial security. I still work as a systems analyst, but I've been promoted to team lead. It took time, but I found peace again. Sometimes people say family is everything. But here's what I've learned. Family isn't about blood. It's about trust. And if someone uses love as a weapon to rob you blind, they were never your family to begin with. What would you have done in my situation? Would you have pressed charges against your own family, or would you have tried to forgive and move on? Let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear your thoughts. If you enjoyed this story, make sure to hit that like button. And don't forget to share this video and subscribe if you haven't already. We've got more incredible revenge stories coming your way.